So I haven't done a Better Call Saul video in a while, and I'm really working on my review of the show, as well as my comparison between that and Breaking Bad, but I really want to give it some time because we just finished watching Better Call Saul, and even though I have some recency bias, I still think it's the best show of all time, and I'm going to continue to think that, but I kind of want to let my emotions simmer a little bit before I review them in depth, because I'm going to give my honest opinion about what I think about the show. So instead, I figured in this video we'd at least tier rank the season 6 episodes one by one, because these are honestly some of the best episodes of television ever. There's a couple episodes in season 3 of Better Call Saul that I would say run up for the best episodes of TV ever. A couple episodes in season 5, but this season it has a lot, man. So I'm going to be ranking this season pretty much in its entirety, and see where, you know, things rank. So this is from the Vivid Kiwi. He's one of my favorite Better Call Saul YouTubers, and he made this tier list here with all of the episodes. You see his font, it's like an iconic Vivid Kiwi font, but I'm going to be using this to discuss the episodes. So I'm going to go in this order. Now I'm just going to say every episode on this list is a top tier episode because season 6 was one of the best seasons of television ever, just period. Actually, I would argue it's the best season of television ever, but anyway, season 6, all the episodes are at a high point, but there are some that are way better than others on that list. So we're gonna start. S is perfect, 10 out of 10. I wish I could rename these. A is great, that's like 8 out of 10. B is good, it's like 6 out of 10. And then C is okay, like meh, that's probably like a 4 out of 10. And then D is kind of like doo-doo, just not good. I wouldn't say not good, because again, none of these are like not good, but compared to the standards of this season, I would say it's not the best. So yeah, some of my opinions here are probably a little bit controversial, but they're mine, so it is what it is. So we're gonna go episode by episode. Actually, we're not gonna swap around. I'm gonna go episode 1. I'm going to put episode 1 in C tier. Episode 1 obviously serves to introduce where we're at with the story, open right back up where Nacho and Lalo are at, and give a little bit of more intro into Jimmy and Kim, but really not much. All they really do in that episode is discuss what they might do with Howard. I really liked the intro this season, but it was a change of pace, which was great in hindsight because, or I guess in retrospect, because it really set the tone for the season. You open up with this new shot of Jimmy's house, and it really is like, okay, this is not how I was expecting it to go. Now, that being said, it is a great episode, don't get me wrong. It's just, compared to the rest in the bunch, this really serves to open us up to where we're going to go this season. I don't have much else to say, and I'm also going to be putting episode 2 in the exact... You know what? Yeah. I was thinking maybe B, but I'm going to put it in the exact same. Season 6, episode 2 was also... It wasn't filler, but it was still setting the stage for everything to come next. So... For me, it really was the same. It was Nacho on the run, a little bit more with Kim, learning about some stuff that's going on. But, you know, really that's about it. Nothing much of these two. I thought these ones were pretty boring, if I'm being honest with you. There was some excitement, but that's about it. So they kind of pair together well, and they're going to remain in the C tier. Next up, we have season 6, episode 3, and spoiler alert. If you don't want any more spoilers, by the way, I'd recommend getting off this video right now because I'm going to get into it pretty bad. So this episode was one of my favorites. I loved Nacho as a character. He was one of my favorite characters in any universe. And I really loved how they wrapped up his story. I think there was a little bit more I wanted to see out of it about him wrapping things up. I would have loved to have seen a little bit more of the conversations had between Mike and Nacho before, like when they were doing the last meal stuff. I would have loved to have seen just a little bit more. But honestly, I think as far as seasons go of TV, I mean episodes go of TV, 3, this is a strong one. Do I think it's S tier? This is where I'm really struggling. Is it S tier or is it A tier? Remember, A tier is still great. Like, it's still like pretty high up on the list. So, is it 8 out of 10 or is it 10 out of 10? This is a close call. I think I'm going to put it in S tier. If anything, it's going to go towards the bottom of my S tier. Obviously, like, S tier is all really the same, but there's episodes I like this season more than I like episode 3, but it was such a big episode, and it was such a great episode at that I don't know if it just qualifies for A. I think it has to go in S tier, but it's close. I'm not going to lie, it's close, because the writing in some of these later ones and just everything about some of the things in the later ones are just they're a step ahead. So yeah, I'm gonna put it in S tier. Maybe my opinion's gonna change later, but yeah. Now up next we have season 6 episode 4, and this episode, it was kind of like the stock market. Up from episode 1 to 3, it was just on the rise, and then episode 4 just automatic decline as far as the pacing goes. These first 3 episodes were very high stakes because we were dealing with Nacho on the run and that whole story, and it was really great. Even though I put these in C tier, it was really great. These were just setting everything up, but the stakes were high. Then season 6 episode 3 was obviously like a near perfect episode of TV, but season 6 episode 4 wasn't high stakes because they were still introducing the plot for Howard, so there wasn't much there. But I do gotta say, what they did with this episode, where they had Jimmy dress as Howard in like the most funny way ever, I think it was quality, and it was so fun to watch. I remember watching this episode pretty vividly, and I loved it. So it's gonna go above the others. It's gonna go in B tier. It's a good episode. It really had some fun moments. I loved seeing Jimmy throw out the hooker out of the car. I forget her name, but she was from Breaking Bad too. I really loved some of the stuff in here, and it was all around just a fun episode. So yeah. Then up next we have season 6 episode 5. This was the Lalo episode where he was in Germany, and I don't know what to say about this one. This one's another one where I'm kind of torn of where to put it. I think this episode had a lot to love about it, but it was also kind of just not filler, but it was questionable about the pacing. So to me, this one's actually going to go in C tier. I really liked seeing Lalo interact with Werner Ziegler's wife. It was really, really cool to see, but it was slow. It was just a little slow compared to what we had going on, and as much as I love Lalo, and I do, I feel like we could have told this story of him going to Germany just a little bit faster and a little bit more fun. It was just a little to watch. Now, I can't remember. I'm actually not sure what the episode is where Kim and Mike meet. I can't remember what the name of what episode this was. I think it's in the episode Hit and Run. Let's see, season 6, episode 8. Let's see, Hit and Run. Better Call Saul, because I'm actually curious. Okay, that's episode 4. So I already ranked that. Yeah, okay. There's a reason I put that in B tier. I couldn't remember if it was in episode 5 or episode 4 where Kim and Mike meet, but that was a highlight for me, and I'm glad I placed it in here because that was really special. But anyway, yeah, season 6, episode 5 didn't feel like filler to me, but it didn't really satisfy me the way some of the other episodes would have. It was, like I said, really cool to meet Werner Ziegler's wife, but that's kind of it. Now up next we have season 6 episode 6. There's not much I remember about this one here. Let's see, season 6 episode 6, Better Call Saul. I kind of forget a little bit about what happens here. Let's see. Kim and Jimmy enlist a knowledgeable contact. Howard scrutinizes Jimmy's business practices. Mike refuses to compromise as tensions mount. Lalo interrogates a witness. Oh, okay. Yeah, now I remember it. This was the episode where they dilated Jimmy's pupils. This was another one where I was very heavily invested into it, and it was all about setting up D-Day. So I'm gonna put this in. B tier. It's up there towards great, but again, it's another one of those kind of slow build episodes. There was a lot of quality here because again, the writing is so superb, even with all these, and that's what I want to make clear one more time. Even the episodes that are in D tier, the writing is still perfect. So I just want to get that out of the way. But yeah, season 6, episode 6 was a good calm before the storm of what is set to occur in episode 7. So yeah, this episode was really good, and I liked at the end where we saw Kim make the choice where she turned and went on bad choice road, quite literally. I loved seeing that. So this was a good episode. I don't know if it's going to qualify for great, but it is a good episode. So yeah. All right, up next is the big dog. This is immediately going in S tier, and it's probably going to stay at either the very top of S tier or there's a runner-up. It's the runner-up for the best episode. This is definitely one of the best episodes of television I've ever seen between both shows. Ozymandias, chicanery. It's this point and shoot. This is a perfect episode of TV. Everything that they were planning, all the slow build that was up to this episode was so worth it. And that's why I love Better Call Saul, because every little detail, the slow moments that are quote unquote boring, they all serve such a big purpose and they're so well thought out. And it all explodes in season 6, episode 7 with the death of Howard Hamlin. And oh my God, this episode, man, really screwed me up. I'm not kidding. I've seen a lot of TV, from like the Red Wedding to all of the Walking Dead's deaths to things like that, but nothing at all comes anywhere close to the death of Howard Hamlin. It felt like I literally watched, and as I'm talking about this, there's hair on my like spine and on my face like standing up. There is nothing like the death of Howard Hamlin. It was the most shocking and disgusting thing I've ever seen on TV. I wish I was doing reactions on the channel, because my reaction to this was insane. I just stood. I was watching it on my monitors, and I just stood like this for literally, I think it was 5 minutes, and then that night I could not sleep. That image of him hitting his head after he got shot just played in my mind over and over again like I was watching something on Live Leak. I'm not kidding. This episode screwed me up, but it was so good. The death was great. The story was perfect, like absolutely perfect, and it was funny. It hit on every emotion. It was awkward. It was funny. It was tragic. It was dramatic. It is like the perfect episode of television. The only runner up to that in this show, and in the Breaking Bad universe, is Ozymandias, Chicanery, and Saul Gone. Those are the only ones that stand up to that, which, spoiler alert, yes, Saul Gone is an S tier, but we're gonna get to that later. So yeah, oh man, Point and Shoot is just from start to finish just an immaculate, perfect episode of TV. One of the best episodes of TV of all time. It's definitely in my top 3, honestly. It's in my top 3 episodes of all time. So yeah, and honestly, it's a hard act to follow to one-up this episode. I didn't mean to move it there, but next we have, after I think it was a 6-week wait or something like that, we had season 6, episode 8, Point and Shoot. Did I say? I think I accidentally said this was called Point and Shoot. This one's called Plan and Execution. This one's called Point and Shoot. Oh man, this is another really good one. It really is. It's a great episode. Now I'm stuck here between putting it in S tier and A tier, because it's great. You know what? Honestly, it's an A tier. It's an A tier. And here's why. Lalo's death was awesome. Like it was so awesome. But Wait, now I'm torn. As I'm talking about this, okay, fuck it. I'm putting it in S tier. It's an S tier episode. It doesn't have the iconicism of plan and execution, but it's still a fantastic, perfect episode of TV from start to finish. It was a much anticipated wait, and it delivered. It really did. Coming back with this episode where we get to see the immediate, like literally not even a millisecond after the credits rolled in this episode, we see the immediate aftermath, and it's tragic, and it's scary, and it's fun. There's only one kind of low point of this episode, and that's why I was contemplating these two, and I felt like it was when Lalo enters into Gus's lab. It's kind of poorly written. The guy's in the bathroom, and he just like comes back, and Lalo's in there, and some of the stuff with them in the lab was a little slow and not how I expected it to really go. But that being said, I wouldn't even complain about it because it was still great, but like this episode, not a moment of time is bad. Not a moment of time is really bad here, but this one had a couple moments where I was like, that's what I was questioning. But realistically, I would say if S tier is 10 out of 10, 9 out of 10, then this is like the 9 out of the 10, and this is like 11 out of 10. This is 10 out of 10. So I think I think that's where we're gonna go with this one. Now that I'm thinking about it, it's Lalo's death was great to see. I liked the way he went out. Some people didn't. Some people thought it should have been more epic and all that stuff. I liked it. I thought it was well fitting. I thought we finally got to see Gus afraid of something for once, and it was really well told. Seeing Kim and Jimmy say basically goodbye to each other as they didn't know where their fate lied was really amazing. And yeah, it's another near perfect episode of TV. I wouldn't say it's one of my top favorite episodes of all time, but in season 6, it's an S tier. It's just a straight up S tier. Very close runner up for an A tier, but it's an S tier. So yeah, that's basically it with that one. Now we have season 6, episode 9, and this is where it's like, do I really want? Is this whole last half of episodes gonna be an S tier? Because season 6, episode 9 is another banger. It's such a good episode. This is another challenging one because it was a little slower, obviously, than these last two, but I feel like season 6, episode 9 was the finale of Better Call Saul, then everything else was epilogue. So, S tier. It's S tier. I honestly think it's better than Lalo's death episode. And I think it's better than Nacho's death episode. We finally get to see Jimmy and Kim break up, and it was done so freaking well. And then everything with them being in the house, first off, it opening with Howard being buried. I think that's how this one opened. Or wait, no, was that? Yeah, no, that's how season 6, episode 8 opened. But season 6, episode 9 opened with them going about their day, and the montage of between Mike and Jimmy, where Jimmy was like eating his ketchup and the fries, and Mike was cleaning up the blood from Howard. Oh man, it was just so good. And the song Perfect Day to wrap it all in that cold open, it was just so good. And then the whole rest of the episode is fantastic. It really is just a great wrap up. You have moments where you have Mike talking to Nacho's dad, giving closure there. You have the moment of Gus talking to the guy, and you could tell they would have hit it off. They probably would have, gone further in their relationship, but I was going to say Giancarlo Esposito, but Gus shuts it down because he realizes he can't. And then you have the breakup, and it's just so good. And you have the memorial of Howard Hamlin, which was great. And it was so funny to see that it was just his Instagram pictures, Patrick Fabian's Instagram pictures. Man, there's so much to love about this one. Some people would say that Gus's scene was way too long, and when I first watched the episode, I felt that way, but upon second viewing, I felt that it was just so important to the story that to me it's S tier. If there was one complaint I would have, it would be the Gus scene. That's it. And honestly, okay, so what? It's 10 minutes, maybe 10 minutes of screen time that was a little boring, but it told a great story. So to me, it's an S tier. If that's the only bad part of the episode, or technically like lower point in the episode, it's an S tier. So yeah, that's my view on that one. And then next we have epilogue. Everything here on is epilogue. So you have Nippy, you have Breaking Bad, you have Waterworks, and you have Saul Gone. So we're gonna start with Nippy. This is tough, man, because there's some parts of the epilogue that I really liked, and there's some parts that I really didn't. And honestly, though Nippy was really fun, like it really was, I really think, and actually before I get into where I'm gonna rank Nippy, but if I had one complaint about Better Call Saul Season 6, it would be that some of the epilogue stuff I wish was told differently. And obviously I wish Jeff the cab driver was still played by the original actor, because I really liked him in it. And I liked the new Jeff, but I really liked the original actor in it. I loved the way he pulled it off, but the epilogue, I'd say for Season 6, Episode 10, Season 6, Episode 11, and 12, there was some really questionable stuff there that I wish was written a little bit differently, but it being that this is how it was written, it was still written perfectly, but I wish the writers came up with kind of a better story for the Jeff the cab driver thing, because I really didn't love Nippy. Like, it was a fun episode to watch, but after the highs of these, and obviously, you know, you're gonna have your highs and lows of a season, but after your highs and lows of these, this one just kind of felt like a slap in the face, so to me it's a D tier. Honestly, it was a fun episode, don't get me wrong, it was great to see the schemes, but it was too slow, man. It was too slow for the final season, and going into the 10th episode, when we know there's only 4 episodes of the show left, for them to do, it was honestly, it's not the same, but it was kind of like Better Call Saul's version of Fly, which is Breaking Bad's bottle episode, where this was kind of a bottle episode, kind of. I mean, they had a bigger cast, so it's not technically like a bottle episode, but it just felt like filler to me. It felt necessary. Retrospectively, like looking back at it, it felt very necessary, but to this story. And I didn't really think this story, I'd say for Season 6, Episode 10 and Season 6, Episode 11 were that strong. So to me, Nippy was just... Honestly, I could go the whole show without watching that episode again. If I rewatch, I'm obviously going to watch this episode, but it was not a strong point for me in this season. It was a great episode. Don't get me wrong. It was a great episode. That's what I'm saying. Even D tier, it's still good, but it's just compared to the quality of everything else, it just felt like this was filler, but very necessary filler. So, yeah, that's where I'd rank that. And then we have Season 6, Episode 11, Breaking Bad, which is the episode where we finally get a Walt and Jesse cameo. And this episode was great, man. It was, again, another filler episode, don't get me wrong, but the way they weaved this story in and out, it was great, and it belongs in great. Thinking back on it, because, again, it kind of felt like Nippy to me, where it was a little slow, it was kind of, you know, questionable, but the story that this episode told was fantastic, and honestly, I really was one of those people that didn't care for the Walt and Jesse cameo. Like, I didn't care for it. Better Call Saul is too good, it stands out on its own, I don't need to see them, but it is a prequel of that show, and at some point you have to tell the story of how Saul became Saul, and I thought the way they did it here was so damn good. Like, really just well done. Everything about this episode was great. The cameos you had here with Walt and Jesse were just awesome. The whole "it wasn't me, it was Ignacio" thing was great. The only thing I have to say about that is I really don't like the way they changed the way he said it, because the way he says it in the original, in Breaking Bad, where he says it really fast, like, "No, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio," like, that is just better. Whereas here it's like, "It wasn't me, it was Ignacio," like, I don't know why, like, wouldn't it make sense to keep it the same for continuity? I just didn't understand that. I feel like they just played it up for dramatics, which was great. I really liked the way it was done, but yeah, I don't know why they changed that, the way it was delivered so much. Other than that, this was another just fantastic episode. Really was. It was a great episode of TV. And then, yeah, we had Mike Ehrmantraut's cameo, I think, in this one, if I remember correctly, unless it was 12. But this was a great episode. It really was, all around. We got to see the dialogue between, I forget her name, between Francesca and Jimmy, which was awesome to see. It was a little frustrating to see where the conversation between him and Kim didn't go, but it paid off in episode 12, which was another great. Episode 12 was a great episode, and it answered a lot of the questions that we had in episode 11. But this really felt like the penultimate episode, I guess is the word I'm looking for, because it was. And we got to see an awesome cameo of Jesse that felt more shocking to see than even the cameo of them in this episode, because seeing him and Kim talk and share a cigarette and discuss Jimmy and all that stuff, it was, oh man, it was so good. This was just quality. Absolute quality of an episode, and for some reason I'm struggling to remember all the details. I remember the end very well, obviously, because it's when Marion caught him, but the stuff here was just really good. So, yeah, I can't think of much else to say about it. I feel like these two paired together so well because they both showed the cameos in a great way. But, oh man, they were just great episodes. I wouldn't put them in S tier, but they were great episodes of TV. Again, the reason they aren't higher is because I did not love the story that they told with Jeff the cab driver and Marion. I loved Marion, I loved Jeff the cab driver, and I liked the way they wrote the story they told. I just didn't like the story that they told, if that makes any sense. So yeah, that's how I feel about that. But all of those questionable decisions paid off for one of the best episodes of TV history, episode 13, Saul Gone. And actually, I am going to place it one behind Plan and Execution because that's how I feel about it. Saul Gone is such a freaking good episode of TV, and not only that, TV shows really, really struggle to stick the landing. Like, they really do. It's not a strong point for a lot of shows. I mean, look at Game of Thrones, but Game of Thrones was just a terrible last season to begin with, but a lot of shows really struggled with wrapping up, and this show did not. This show delivered on all fronts, and it's what really, I mean, for a while I was saying that Better Call Saul was better than Breaking Bad, but this fully solidified where it wasn't a little questionable to me. It was for certain it's better. It's just better. In a point blank period, just better. This episode, from start to minute, there wasn't a moment I didn't like. From start to finish, there wasn't a moment I didn't like. Every single second of this episode was so good. Like, oh man. Actually, you know what? I'm going to place it above Plan and Execution. Because Plan and Execution, there was a couple of moments that were a little slower. Just a very few. And for that, every single second of this episode was perfect. Every single one of them. There wasn't one bad moment. Bob Odenkirk's acting in this episode was so good. The way they wrapped it up with Jimmy in prison and being liked by the inmates was so good. Like, there is not a bad moment of this. And the cameo of Marie out of nowhere? Oh man, you saw my reaction. If you guys have checked out the channel, you saw my reaction to this episode. This was like the best episode of TV ever. No joke. This was just so damn good. And I couldn't believe when I was doing my immediate reactions, when I saw Reddit, people didn't like it. I did not get it. Man, this episode was so good. The only thing I wish, and this isn't a complaint because again, the episode was just immaculate, but the only little thing I wish is that when Jimmy was in prison, because you could tell he was liked by the inmates and things were getting a little bit better, I kind of wish it turned back to color then, though I did like the creative choice where when Jimmy and Kim were lighting the cigarette, the only thing that was lit was the spark showing in the romance. It was the light of the cigarette. I really did like that, but I felt like they missed an opportunity to show them in color just one more time because Jimmy clearly fits fine in prison, and I would have loved to have seen that, but that's it, and that's not even a complaint. It's just, that would have been nice. Other than that, this episode, so good. All the monologues from Bob Odenkirk this episode were amazing, whether it was in the deposition or whether it was in the actual trial. My God, it was so good. And to see Kim and Jimmy unite together face to face once again, it was so good. And I forgot to say that about episode 12. It was great to see Kim again. But the only thing that sticks in my head about episode 12 was, yup. Yup, it will stick in my head forever. But anyway, back to 13. Man, I'm still trying to find the words to say about this episode. It was so good. I'm still absorbing it. But yeah, guys, that's my tier list. We have in S tier, we have episode 13, episode 7, episode 9, episode 3, and episode 8 in that order. And then we have in A, which is great tier, we have episode 11 and episode 12. In B tier, we have episode 4 and episode 6. C tier, we have episode 1, 2, and 5. And then in D tier, we have Nippy, which is episode 10. So that's my list. Season 6 of Better Call Saul was a perfect season of television. And that's why I'm saying, like, even these low points, they're still great. They're still so good. But overall, this package that it delivered was just fantastic. Best season of TV of all time, and some of the best episodes of TV I've seen of all time. So yeah, that's my list. If you liked it, make sure you like this video. If you want, subscribe. I do TV reviews, I just do vlogs, I do whatever I want to do. So if you like the sound of that, make sure you check out the channel. And until the next one, peace out.